Bodega Boys, they're back in the building. Yeah, what's going on, party people in the place to be? I go by the name of the BK Apologist, transmitting all the way live. New York is the city, Brooklyn is the borough. What's good? What's popping? It's Friday. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a good week. And yeah, man, it's going to be very interesting tonight. Of course, before we continue, we gotta say what's up to the party people in the chat. We got the real American, Mr. Phil Fox, on the check-in. We got Adrian Jones. We got my main man, Mr. Green. We got Tyler Lott. We got the indelible, the uncomparable, Nate2D2, Bodega Lady, D New. Oh man, we got Padres in Detroit, DFC in the building. And we got, Brother Garfield is in the building. I wonder why he's here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so much love to him and everyone. And of course, if you have not yet already done so, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that is him again. And if you like how it goes down at the BK Apologist, please support your boy via PayPal. And if you want to be a monthly supporter of BK, you become a patron. We get an assortment of goodies to enhance your personal Bible study. So before we get into the actual topic at hand, I got to say what's up to the people that you see on the panel. I got some very, just stand-up men. You know what I mean? Just stand-up dudes. You know what I mean? So, of course, we have from, no longer Arkansas, going back to Texas, one of the top shotters in the UA, the troubleman, the bad boy of the urban apologetic crew, MJ Jackson. What's going on, sir?
Greetings, and I cannot wait to get back to Texas. I'm so ready. I just don't feel like moving all these books, but y'all know how it is.
This is true. And yes, speaking of another troublemaker, who is the thorn in the flesh of many an individual, of course, we were talking about Mr. True ID himself, Adam Coleman. What's going on, Adam?
Hey man, I'm chilling, man. I'm not trying to cause too much trouble tonight.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Lies.
I'm
off
relaxing.
The gate.
I'm just it's a Friday evening. I'm feeling, I'm feeling chill right now, man. I'm not even doing nothing, bro.
No one in the chat believe you. Garfield don't believe. No one believes that, bro.
Nobody.
Off the gate, this dude's lying. It's terrible.
Yo, Adam got started yesterday. I'm getting sent screenshots and all this type of stuff. Adam got started early.
Oh man, man. It's just one of those things,
preliminary
man.
Bars.
Preliminary bars.
Preliminary bars. So,
what was that?
For those who are interested, this guy, man. Yeah, okay, Garfield.
What I miss? I must have missed something.
He said, I can't lie on the Sabbath.
Oh.
So,
oh man,
we are here to address a video by an individual called Shaka Atmos, who seemed to have taken umbrage against our dear brother Dr. Eric Mason.
Umbrage.
He
did take umbrage.
Dr. Mason, has been on TikTok, and it's been lit. It's been lit.
Yeah. Shout out to Dr. Mason, man. He's killing it. And there's a particular TikTok that he did that Shaka seems to have issues with.
He was triggered.
Triggered. And with that, I'm actually going to pass it to Adam to talk about the TikTok video presented and really go in with what we're going to talk about today. So, Adam, the floor is yours, sir.
Oh, man, I didn't see that coming. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm actually still downloading my slides a little bit here.
Okay.
Well, I don't know why it's being slow, so I don't know what's going on. So
that's
you
cool.
have to excuse me. But to be honest with you, I'm not even sure which video it was that your boy Shaka took issue with. I mean, only. I mean, I know as far as comments that your boy Mason has made in regard to you know, just the contrived and totally fabricated connections, you know what I'm saying, that people attempt to make between Christianity and Kemet. I'm saying, and he was just pointing that out in one of his presentations, that these cats flat out, actually I don't want to even use the word lie. I'm gonna be chill. You know what I'm saying? There are many people who are woefully mistaken about the supposed parallels and connection between Kemet and and Christianity. And unfortunately, whether knowingly or unknowingly, they're peddling falsehoods, such as, this mistaken idea that Christianity, was, that Jesus is somehow copycat of Horus and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's just, silly stuff. You know what I mean? Things were ripped off, from the horror story. And now that's where the Christians got it from, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, that kind of nonsense is unfortunately all over the internet. And in the course of him making that case, he said that, as we'll see here in a minute, that it's not the case that there's some sort of documentation of Horus being born of a virgin birth. And your boy Shaka took that one statement and made like a 4 hour 45-minute video off of it. And as we're about to show, it's actually Shaka who's mistaken. So we'll get into that. But I mean, it's just kind of, par for the course, man. You know what it is. This is what we do. You know what I'm saying? When people need to be corrected, we jump into action. I mean, that bat symbol goes up, you know what I mean? And quite frankly, I'm not really interested in like personal back and forth with people. I'm really not. But, Shaka has made it his habit to, intrude upon various people's Facebook pages, and when they, post something like that, and he's trolling essentially. You know what I'm saying? He's not giving meaningful pushback. He's not challenging from an academic standpoint. You know what I'm saying? He's just flat out trolling and being disrespectful in the process. You know what I mean? And so I think that he wanted the attention. So now we're gonna give him some attention. That's apparently this is what he wanted. So it's body bag season. That's what this is. All right.
It says the man who wants to be chill.
But I'm being chill. Right.
What you said reminds me of that episode of David Chappelle when they was talking about Rick James coming over, sticking his feet in the couch. And I think Eddie Murphy told Charlie, said, "Yeah, we need to get Rick some help." And Charlie was like, "Yo, we just gave him some." But no, Adam, I'm not going to be as nice as you. I do think some of these guys are lying. I think that there's enough information out there, and it's sad when you got people within your own camp or supposedly in proximity to you exposing this mess to be pseudo. Adam, you study philosophy and epistemology just like I do, and there's this thing where a person can be justified in believing something in the absence of defeaters. Well, we've been presenting defeaters all day long for this garbage. Mm-hmm. And they're just not justified in believing it. And the ones who call themselves master teachers, look, you gotta know better when certain information contradicts your hypothesis or whatever you're pushing out there to be the case. Right. And so I think some people are mistaken. I do think some people are mistaken, but I think some folks are hucksters and looking to capitalize on mistaken people.
Right.
I agree.
Well, hold on, one quick. Okay. I just want to put one caveat. So just like the Hebrew Israelite community, the Kemetic community is also not monolithic. Okay. So the things that we'll be addressing with Shaka isn't a blanketed treatment of everyone who subscribes to some sort of Kemetic worldview. All right. So this is specifically for Shaka and those who subscribe to Shaka's way of seeing things. Right. And we know that's not everyone. So I just want to put that on record. Everyone doesn't see things the way he does.
Absolutely.
All right. So, okay.
Well, and to your point, I mean, I think that people can go back and look at all the dialogues we've had. You know what I'm saying, I mean, we joke around and stuff like that, but I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find like, malice in what it is that we present. Like, we're not coming at this from a we hate Egypt and we're trying to stomp it to the ground type of right. Like, or even those who subscribe to Kemeticism. I feel like we've been really even-handed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had conversations like this is not just an internet thing. Like, whether it be online or in person, we have these conversations. You know what I'm saying? And I've always found it to be very productive. I'm saying I I'm not getting into shouting matches on the street with people about Kemeticism. That's just not what this is. Nevertheless, I do think, and this is people can take it as a shot or maybe not. I'm not intending it to be, but let's all agree that regardless of what worldview you're coming from, you know what I'm saying, it's important that we not disseminate falsehoods and poor thinking to the community. I feel like that's something. You know, I know we had Garfield in the chat. Maybe Garfield can put a 1 in the chat if he agrees with me. I think that's where we can all build a bridge, right? We can agree with that, right? So when I see things like this video that Shaka, put out, and we're about to take a look at it, it's not that I have something personal against the guy. I really don't. I'm saying it's not that, we have some axe to grind against Kemet or something like that. I really don't. I think I can speak for the panel in saying that the issue is that you're promoting falsehood. It's that simple. It's nothing personal. And I think that the kind of lack of critical thinking that Shaka exhibited in this video we're about to take a look at is not healthy for the community, regardless of what worldview you're coming from. It's bad for the community. And, actually Shaka even says in this video that if somebody's out here, peddling foolishness to the community, then they need to be held accountable publicly. Well, that's what this is. I agree. You know what I'm saying? I wholeheartedly agree. So let's, that's what it is.
Cool. All love. So with that,
oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
Here we go.
So
I want to now I know I had one segment that I wanted to jump in on, but is there something you want to go to first?
No. I remember you want to speak on Mason's video first, right? Or are you gonna play it via his video? I don't know how you want to do it.
Do you have the timestamp for when he brings Mason in? You have that timestamp?
No.
Oh dang. Okay, neither do I. So let me I'm gonna have to find that while we're talking. But I do have this one segment I want to play right quick. All right. It takes about an hour to really get into something substantive. And I want to highlight this, not because I'm trying to be nitpicky, but because I think that it's important for people to see what I was talking about in terms of critical thinking, you know what I'm saying, and where we're coming. This is just a preliminary thought. So hopefully this is the right. So I'll just go play from here. We'll see what happens.
To follow the transformation of what began as a purely African faith into what? A world religion. Stop. The one thing I've learned when I'm teaching people is I have to go slow because they will not understand. People always fail to realize how much they understand, how much they don't understand. So we're talking about a purely African faith. If it's a purely African faith, the first conclusion we need to come to is that it came from a purely African people. Not a mixed people, like you see in Egypt today. Not a miscegenated people. It came from a purely African people. How do we know? Because as is documented in front of us, it was a purely African religion, faith. It was a purely African faith. Okay? The second thing that we saw, which is important, is that it became a world religion. It became a world religion to follow the transformation of what began as a purely African faith into a world religion. That's highlighted. Why is that highlighted? Because if the purely African faith of Isis became a world religion, that means it was a Catholic religion. It was a universal religion. It was the first form of Catholicism. So you cannot talk, because Catholic means universal. That's all it means. So the worship of Isis was a Catholic religion before Christianity. There was no Christianity in the world when the worship of Isis, or the faith of Isis, the purely African-born faith of Isis was a Catholic religion. There was no Christianity. So let's be clear on that. Let's be clear on that. I only speak from the documentation. This is not my opinion. This is not Shaka Ahmose's perspective or opinion. This is what this is reflected in the documentation. If you have a problem with the documentation, you can take your butt to Johns Hopkins University Press. You could take your butt to Queen's Mary, uh, was it London University, right? You can go over there and you can tell them, I don't like what you're teaching. I don't like the fact that you're educating people. You can go over there and tell them that you have a problem with education. Okay? So, all right. So for you pastors out there, right? The first Catholic religion was not Christianity. The first Catholic religion, I should say for you priests out there, certainly for you bishops and apostles,
It's coming to the end.
the first Catholic religion was not Christianity. It was the purely born African faith of Isis. Okay? Be very clear on that. They had missionaries and everything. Where do you think the Christians learned it from? Okay? So let's go. Okay, let's continue. So to follow the transformation of what began.
All right, so I'm gonna pause it there. So I feel like I really don't even have to say a whole lot about this, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it anyway. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it anyway. Give me 1 second. Oh man. Okay. Oh shoot. I gotta open my system preferences and correct some here because it won't let me share.
Good job.
Dang, that's great. I got this great setup, and now I gotta do that. All right, y'all chat amongst yourselves while I do that. My fault.
Well, while he does that, MJ, what was your first thoughts when you saw Mr. Ahmose's video?
You want the unfiltered stuff?
I'm scared to say yeah, but why not? Let's go.
Well, I mean, this kind of reminds me when you'll be waiting for Hulk Hogan to retire, and he just keep finding the way to stick his bald head back in whatever the WWE is doing, and this really reminds me of that. But in terms of the sources, what I want to do is set the tone that Mr. Shaka better keep that same energy in terms of if you have a problem with the documentation, if you have a problem with the literature, take it up with them. Because tonight, I mean, what we're going to do is this is just reading comprehension. It's nothing fancy, just reading comprehension. Maybe a few lessons on logic, but just reading comprehension, a little bit of logic, and I think we'll be all right.
Sounds pretty good. Mr. Coleman, how are we doing?
Not so great. I'm gonna have to mess it up, man. I promise I'm a professional. I gotta quit and reopen Google Chrome for allow it to record the screen. So I gotta dip out and come right back, man. I apologize.
That's okay.
This is crazy. All right, sorry.
Bless his heart.
Man. Let's see here.
But here's the thing. I went ahead and bought the book. I think Shaka was like using some free Google information that he may have found, find a few slides, post it, and say, "Ha! I got you, Catholic." Well, Catholic just means universal. Did it say this was the first universal church? No, nothing. But this is nothing new. I mean, what the book that he's reading is talking about is the process of Hellenization. And we see this, we're seeing it with ISIS. Guess who else we saw it with? Serapis. This is really nothing new. And so what he says, to follow the transformation of what began as a purely African faith into a world religion as ISIS became the first Greek and then the gospel of ISIS. Well, I mean, once again, the word gospel, let's just keep it real. The word gospel is not necessarily unique to Christianity. What does gospel mean? Just good news.
That's it.
And so, dude, I'm not sure if he think that he has a gotcha moment, and and of course they like to use the word pastor to denote somebody who's uneducated, but that's false.
Right.
That's false.
Well, he has a habit of penning certain words as if the Christians copyrighted that term. Like he's done a whole show on the Pentateuch, right? And how
Mm-hmm.
the Christians ain't the first Pentateuch. It's these other people. I'm like, fam, Pentateuch just means a list of 5 books.
That's it.
That's it. The Christians have never said that it originated with it. Like that. No one's ever said that. But he's done that on multiple occasions. And Mr. True ID
There
is
we
Oh
go.
man, finally, goodness gracious, man. It's embarrassing. I am a professional, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be
yeah.
honest with you, you know
It's
what I
not tonight.
mean? Just not tonight. Did. So, all right, I'm not going to belabor the point, but I apologize for that. But so I'll make this really quick, you know. But if you go back and look at this section, you know, he's starting from, you know, the worship of Isis, you know, being this African-born religion, and then, you know, he's reading along saying it was a world religion, and then he inserts this word universal. He said it means it was universal, and from there he goes on to say, well, you know, see, it was Catholic. It was the first Catholic religion, right? And you know, he actually uses the term Catholicism. It was the first Catholicism, right? If you look at this whole section, which, you know, we don't have time to go through it all now, but I just wanted to kind of show that piece to say this. Essentially, what you have here is the equivocation fallacy. That's what you got, right? The fallacy of equivocation occurs when a key term or phrase in an argument is used in an ambiguous way, with one meaning in one portion of the argument and then another meaning in the other portion of the argument. So on one hand, let me go to my next slide here. On one hand, he wants to use the term Catholic and just simply says it means universal, right? But then he goes on to reference Catholic in regard to, as in like Roman Catholicism. That's like capital C Catholic, right? That's what you're dealing with there, you know. And then if you want to take it further to use the term Catholicism, now you ventured beyond just the use of the word Catholic to refer to something universal, right? Or like an assembly of things. That's another way you might be able to use it. Now you're venturing in to use it in the specific way that refers to the faith, practice, or system of Catholic Christianity. So his movement from Catholic and just saying it's universal to then using the term Catholic to, you know, imply or refer to you know, like Roman Catholicism and, you know, or some say Christian version of Catholic, and then using the term Catholicism, it's like a sleight of hand. I'm saying that we would refer to as the equivocation fallacy. Now, I want to bring that out because, so for me, when we're looking at sources, whether it be on the internet, whether it be watching me right now, whether it be reading a book, these are the kind of things these are the kind of red flags that are indicators that somebody is not thinking through things critically, right? They're not reading the material critically. They're not thinking critically as they're going through whatever it is that they're, you know, imbibing or presenting to you, because they're making these basic fallacious mistakes. I'm saying this is not like something that's really you have to think really hard about. I think even before I explained it, I think people got a sense that there was some sort of sleight of hand going on in terms of what Shaka Atmos was saying. But I said that to say, for those who maybe they don't view this channel very often, or, you know, maybe this is your first time here, I would just encourage you, whether you are Christian or not, regardless of what your worldview is, when you see people like Shaka Atmos making these basic, you know, fallacious mistakes, and then they're trying to be a master teacher and teach you about something, that should be a red flag to you that this person is not a reliable source of information. What it tells me that Shaka Atmos is not a reliable source of information is that he repeatedly makes basic logical mistakes, right? Just like you said, as I came back on, like he'll often say that, or he'll make the claim that Christians believe that we're the only ones who hold to this or have that. And, you know, he just makes these assertions, but he doesn't defend them. He just kind of makes these assertions. He does the same thing in this video with the word gospel. We don't have time to go into it now, but people can go back and check it out and make sure I'm not misquoting the man, right? He'll talk about, oh, there's the gospel of Isis, and Christians believe that, you know, they were the only ones who have a gospel. Well, actually, no. I mean, the reality is, if you've read Scott McKnight at all, right? If you read anything about King Jesus theology, or just anybody who studied the word evangelion, the good news, the gospel, they'll tell you that that phraseology is not something that's specific to Christianity, but it does have a cultural precursor. Nevertheless, with respect to the gospel of Jesus Christ, that's when you're, you know, honing in on something specific, you know. So again, you know, you've got this equivocation fallacy going on, assumptions and things of that nature. These are the kind of things that when I'm looking at somebody, you know, tips me off that this person is not a reliable source of information. Boom.
MJ?
Everything Adam said, but I mean, like I said earlier, he's reading a source basically that's talking about nothing that's really new, and this information is not being hidden from Christians. I mean, this is a book by Ronald Nash, who's a Christian scholar. I believe what he got his PhD from Syracuse, the Gospel in the Greeks, right? And on page 126, because Christians are not afraid of information like this, check it out. It says the three most important mystery religions of the Hellenistic age were the cults of Isis, Cybele, and Mithra. The cult of Isis originated in Egypt and went through two major stages. In this older Egyptian version, which was not a mystery religion, Isis was regarded as the goddess of heaven, earth, and the sea and the unseen world below. In the Egyptian stage of the cult, Isis had a husband named Osiris. The cult of Isis became a mystery religion only after Ptolemy I introduced major changes into the older worship of Isis. And he goes on to talk about the process of Hellenization that Isis went to. Same thing that this book talking about. But for whatever reason, Shaka thinks he's discovered something that the stupid Christians never knew about. No, we don't have anything to hide. We've been talking about this type of stuff. We don't have nothing to hide. We got receipts.
That we do. And with that, I can share my screen. So as MJ alluded to, in the beginning of the video, he refers to this book, Isis in the Ancient World, written by R.E. Witt. And this book references a familiar person. If you've been to the channel, this person's name has crept up in more than a few occasions, and that is Plutarch. And this is from one of his slides. I blew up so everybody can read it, right? And this is from the book that that he mentions, and it says here, Plutarch, when he set about writing his essay on Isis and Osiris, had the task of weaving a systematic theology out of the odds and ends of Egyptian mythology. That he should have used that as the basis of his own particular Platonic philosophy witnesses to the importance of this African-born faith in the 2nd century AD. Now, this is not the first time Shaka references Plutarch in some way. And it's very strange that he does this. Now, to his credit, later on in the video, he will tell you that Plutarch doesn't get it right, which makes it even more strange that you would use a book that references someone who doesn't get it, right? So the writer in this book is saying that he's weaving a systematic theology out of the odds and ends of Egypt mythology, that he should have used that as a basis for his own particular Platonic philosophy. Now, he said it witnessed to the importance of this African-born faith, but does he really believe that the African-born faith is that important? It doesn't sound like that here. And the reason why we say that is because in Plutarch on Isis and Osiris text, Cult and Cultural Appropriation by Daniel S. Richter, it says here, classicists have generally maintained that Plutarch merely uses the Egyptian material as a vehicle through which to express Middle Platonic conceptions about the structure and genesis of the cosmos. It is thus seen as incidental to the primary philosophical aim of the text, an exegesis on Plato's Ahmose. So he's not caring about this African faith. He's just using it to contextualize what he really cares about, which is his Middle Platonic philosophy. And the reason why he's using odds and ends, according to the Handbook of Egyptian Mythology, it says that Plutarch was fascinated by Egyptian religion and wrote a book on this topic called Concerning Isis and Osiris. He could not speak or read any form of the Egyptian language. So he had to rely on conversations through interpreters and speculations about Egyptian deities found in the works of earlier classical writers. Plutarch's narrative of the life and death of Osiris and the wanderings of his widow, Isis, is the one commonly used in popular books on Egyptian mythology. The reason why he's weaving through odds and ends, because that's all he can grasp. Because he can't read the glyphs. He can't read the glyphs. Much of Plutarch's Osiris narrative must have been based on stories and customs that were current in Egypt during the 1st century CE. But this does not make it a reliable source for earlier periods. The myth of Osiris has been developing and changing for over 2,500 years before Plutarch was born. But Plutarch's written sources could only take him back about 600 years. So he can't read the glyphs, and what little knowledge he has isn't extensive. Right? Plutarch himself gave alternate versions of parts of the story, some of which he thought might be more authentic than others. He's remixing. He's remixing this ancient African faith that he thinks, this writer thinks is so important. Plutarch did not. Again, with Plutarch, as with all foreigners, the animal gods of Egypt were a sore stumbling block. And he has feigned to pass them off as mere symbols or utilitarian interpretations. He's bothered by these actual gods. He doesn't believe that these are actual gods. Right? But Greeks and Egyptians, or Egypto-Greeks, brought up under Hellenic influence, desired, like Plutarch himself, to steer a middle course between atheism and superstition. Wherefore, the grosser side of the Egyptian religion was dropped or treated symbolically, while Osiris, Isis, Anubis, and one or two other deities were picked out and declared not only to be Egyptian equivalents of some of the greater dwellers on Olympus, but in accordance with the Platonic feeling of the time, to be world spirits carrying off the bidding of the logos. So again, he's using this as a platform to display what he thinks is really important, which is his Platonism. Plutarch, along with other Greeks and Romans, naturally thought this Alexandrian cult to be the real and true Egyptian one. His treatise on Isis and Osiris show how deeply interested he was in the whole subject, but he never got far enough to see that the cult of Alexandria had diverged very considerably from the old native beliefs. He naturally looked at the Egyptian religion through the medium of Alexandrian ideas. To him, the native religion certainly contained the pure aura, but the pure aura was covered by layers of accretions and superstitions with which barriers of race and language prevented him from penetrating. Wherefore, it was only fit for the uneducated and vulgar. This is what he's thinking of the native African belief. It's only fit for the uneducated and vulgar. The Alexandrians alone had the key of the true Egyptian faith. This was, of course, a total inversion of the facts. And lastly, about Plutarch, the ascetic philosopher of Alexandria, who adopted a shaven crown and white linen robes, was a member of an artificial, esoteric society that was called into being by the intermixture of Greek and Egyptian civilization. But it is to Plutarch we owe our knowledge of this society, and his mistakes and misconceptions show us the distance by which it had become separated from its Egyptian original. So, I mean, so this book references this man, and this man doesn't know anything.
Hey, I just want to go ahead and say here that, we got a running poll in the chat about people who put ones in there if they want to see Alfredo Valentin write a book. And I just want to take note that amongst the several other ones in the chat, I also put my one in there. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just saying.
I appreciate that, sir. I appreciate that. So, I mean, we're just getting started, but I just want to throw that out there. So what you guys think about Shaka's consistent usage of Plutarch?
Well, once again, this is just a sloppy use of sources here. And, Plutarch says quite a bit. And if Plutarch is good to prove your case, he's also good enough to disprove your case as well. And so you got to be careful when your sources can turn around and bite you in the rear end like that. But when you're just hell-bent and emotional and triggered about trying to disprove Christianity or disprove Dr. Mason based on a short TikTok video, this is the type of sloppiness that you'll get into. And I expect it. But some other people have held this brother in high esteem, but nothing to see here.
Now, in this book, right? So he references Plutarch, which is ridiculous. To build your case on Plutarch is ridiculous. But the writer goes on to explain how he considers the union of Isis and Osiris. And Adam, if you could just read from this book from page 18. Can you read that for us, please?
Well, let me ask you this.
Yes,
so I did find the timestamp. I was looking while you were talking. I find the timestamp of what he took issue with Mason with. So do we want to play that real quick so that people know that what Shaka's contending against, to have a context here, or what do you think?
After you read this page.
Okay, cool. All right. So I want to make sure I get it right. You know what I mean? The legend of Isis and Osiris is founded on a perfect sexual union and perfect motherhood. Their mating is said to have taken place in the womb of their own mother, Nut. That's nasty. Goddess of the sky. Isis, by her very name, was born to show affection, to give the heart, Ib, to her husband Osiris as she laid hold of her breast for her son Horus. As the ideal wife and mother, Isis was preeminently the goddess of the family in Egypt, and later on wherever she appeared in the Greco-Roman world.
So remember, he's using this book to explain how she is a virgin birth. But on page 18, what kind of union did Isis and Osiris have?
It's in the first line, a perfect sexual union.
A perfect sexual union.
I mean,
they mated.
Right.
This is the book he's using.
It's his own source.
This is, but with that, we could get into what Adam wanted to get into earlier.
Yeah, I just want just to kind of give a context of kind of where all this fell out from. It was really just this one statement right here, that Mason made. Let me bring this up here. I think this will help people to see what he's talking about. Okay. Let me get to the one. Okay, yeah, I'll play it from here. So, I cut off part of it, before this. He's basically calling Mason a liar. So he had like 25 times as he gets to playing this clip. But here we go.
And if you didn't know, that means you're historically illiterate and ignorant, which means you shouldn't be speaking about things you don't know about. It's got to be one or the other. So let's hear this lie.
So they'll say Horus was born of a virgin, no documentation of that.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's what sparked off this 4 hour and 45 minute, response from Shaka Atmos. You know what I'm saying? He's upset that Mason said that there was no documentation of Horus, coming about by a virgin birth. But I mean, I think this might be a good time. You want to go back to the slide you just had?
Sure.
If we can go back to your slide, just kind of emphasize this. So, and again, this is coming from the very book that Shaka was reading out of, right?
These are his sources.
So these are Shaka's sources. So if Shaka Ahmose, I just want to say, if you're watching this, I would encourage you to pull out the source that you use for this video, and in your own source, just turn to page 18, brother. That's all you got to do. And in your own source, it confirms exactly what Mason just said that you took issue with. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
When you dagger yourself like that, come on, man.
When keeping it real goes wrong,
it goes way wrong,
and it's not the last time. So unfortunately,
it gets worse. It
gets worse. So in this same book, Isis in the Ancient World by R.E. Witt, he talks about worship of the Egyptian goddess Isis dates as far back as 2500 BC and extended at least into the 5th century AD throughout the Roman world. The importance of her cult is attested to Alpheus Golden. I'm just going to say donkey. I'm not going to say the word because Natu will have a field day if I say that word. So I'm not going to give them that satisfaction. So, right? So this is this book, right? Now, what genre of literature is this book, right? We need to understand the context of this book. Why is it being referenced, right? So we go to the Oxford reference. And it says here, the form of novel accurately described as paraque, but wait, it's picare, picaresque, picaresque, first appeared in 16th century Spain with anonymous Lazarillo de Toms and Alaman Guzman de Afri, which relate the histories of ingenious rogues, the servants of several masters who eventually repent the error of their ways. Example of their descendants in English would be Mo Flanders, Roderick Random, and Tom Jones. The term was apparently first used in England in the 19th century. Nowadays, it's commonly and loosely applied to episodic novels, especially those of Fielding, Smollett, and others of the 18th century, which describes the adventures of a lively and resourceful hero on a journey. The Golden Donkey of Alpheus is regarded as a forerunner of the Paraque novel, right? So the genre that this book is written in is the Paraque, right? So what exactly is a Paraque? Well, the Paraque novel is a genre of prose fiction. It depicts the adventures of a roguish but appealing hero, usually of low social class, who lives by his wits in a corrupt society. The Picaré novels typically adopt a realistic style. So it's prose fiction. This book that referenced this is fictional. Now, again, he's using this book to build his case for the virgin birth of Isis. But this book is prose fiction. Not only is it prose fiction, it's the OG of prose fiction.
The OG of prose.
It's the book that started the genre. Right? Now, but the book does talk about the cult of Isis, right? And that did exist. So let's see about that, right? Actually, here's another from Britannica, The Golden Donkey, prose narrative of the 2nd century CE by Lucius Alpheus, who quoted Metamorphosis. In all probability, Alpheus used material from a lost Metamorphosis by Lucius of Patrae, which is cited by some as the source of an extant Greek work on similar theme. The brief Lucius, or the donkey, attributed to the Greek rhetorician Lucian, though Alpheus' Parquet novel is fiction, its hero has been seen as a partial portrait of its author. The work is particularly valuable for its description of the ancient religious mysteries. Lucia's restoration from animal to human shape with the aid of Isis and his acceptance into her priesthood suggests that Alpheus himself has been initiated into that cult. And in real life, he was an initiative of the Egyptian mystery systems. So, this is a book entitled Alpheus Mardunis's Metamorphosis book, the Isis book text, introduction, and commentary series, right? And you see here, there's these various authors, all these scholars have decided to take on this project. Now, let me describe the book to you. After more than 3 decades since the publication of Gwen Griff's 1975 commentary, which concentrated mainly on Egyptological aspects and represents an outdated positivistic approach to the literary evidence on Isis, this new commentary presents new and thorough assessment of Alpheus' Isis book, elucidating and interpreting the narrative in its literary, religious, and archaeological and cultural context, reflecting the recent innovative approach to the interaction of literature and religion, and the important development in the research of the second sophistic. The volume offers a new detailed interpretation of the Isis book in the easy-to-use form of a fully fledged commentary, including Latin text and monographic introduction. This is a serious book. It's a very scholarly book. These scholars got together and they broke down this Golden Donkey book, this prose fiction, right? And this is what they came across with in page 8 of this book. It says, considering the emphasis on religious themes in the second sophistic, it should be remembered that these are generally presented in the form of literary constructs. And here, Alpheus' depiction of the Isaiah cult is no exception, even though, or precisely because, Austintaneous references are frequently made to a noble past. or exotic faraway locations. Griff had still postulated an Egyptian core of the Isaiah cult of the imperial period, thus implying an essentially uninterrupted continuity over centuries. Departing from this view, we operate on three basic premises. A, the novel refers to contemporary forms and practices of Isaiah cult as part of the established culture of Alpheus time. B, these are superimposed on a distinctively Roman setting through explicit links with the imperial cult or in the description of the city of Rome as the, quote, secret capital. C, to enjoy the text, no special religious knowledge, no familiarity with the internal workings of the cult, and certainly no initiation into the mysteries is required on the part of the reader. Along these lines, our commentary is intended as an extension and corrective counterweight to Griffith's 1975. Our goal is not to deliver an accurate reconstruction of the Isaiah cult in the imperial age. In our interpretation, religion in the Isis book acquires literary qualities. It is being fictionalized and rhetoricalized in Alpheus texts. Not only do the Egyptian cults provide the subject of the narrative, they are also being adapted, reshaped, and recreated by and for the narrative. So in this book, Isis in the Ancient World references Plutarch, who can't read the glyphs, who has limited knowledge, and actually has a disdain for the ancient African religion. And it also references the golden donkey, which is prose fiction. And even though it talks about the Isis cult, it fictionalizes it, adopts it, reshapes it, and recreates it for and by the narrative. This is what he's using to build his case, ladies and gentlemen. Does this make any sense?
That's not scholarship, bro. On Shaka's part, you know what I'm saying? I think what's crazy is he spends so much time, accusing, whether it be Mason or others in the urban apologetics community of not engaging in scholarship. And the reality is, it seems to me that he's not able to identify, or I'll just say discern the difference between a legitimate source and the illegitimate one. It seems to me that if something is written in a book that supports his position, then he takes it to be fact. That's how it's looking to me. That's how it's looking to me. That's not scholarship.
MJ?
This is bad. This is just bad. But once again, you start tripping on what? How many minutes was Dr. Mason's video?
It's like 5 seconds.
I don't want to. I don't want to compare him to crazy political news channels, but I mean, this is along the lines of that type of mess. This is not intended. This is not intended to be educational. This is intended to be, just to trigger and dog whistle a little bit. I mean, this is all that's for. And as we stated earlier, when your own sources start jumping up, biting you in the butt like that, man, you need to go sit down and be taught. You need to sit at somebody's feet and learn. Who taught you, in the words of Damon Richardson.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Adam, in the video.
Yes.
Can you go to the 2 hour and 50-minute mark?
Everything's cracking up. The 2 hour what?
2 hour and 53-minute mark.
53. Okay. And I just want to say too, this has no bearing on whether or not his information is correct or incorrect. I just want to say that just across the board, man, we got to have some level of decorum, man. I'm saying, like, goodness knows, this man, he disrespects Mason's degree as far as the PhD. He disrespects Mason as not being a scholar. So I mean, all this kind of stuff. It's like, man, you can't talk that kind of stuff about somebody who's that learned as Mason certainly is. You know what I'm saying? And then pull stuff like this. You just can't do that. Like, that's not even a shot. I'm just making an observation. Like, if it was me, I would feel pretty silly right now. That's what I would do. Like, matter of fact, the Urban Apologetics book restoring black dignity with the gospel. Like it just won his like third award today. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a published work like with Zonovan. Like Zonovan is not like a rinky-dink publisher, man. Like, you know, Mason is well accomplished, well educated, man. I'm just saying, let's just leave the slander out, dog. Just make a case and keep it moving, man. That's all I'm saying. All right, you said 2 hour 53, right?
Yes.
For the most part, these are synonyms. Maiden and virgin are the same thing. That's why they use the same word to denote them. Okay? The definition: a maiden, a virgin. A maiden, they clarify it for you. A virgin. A maiden, virgin. Okay? Okay. Parthenos, maiden, virgin. Okay? Let's look at primary evidence. Let's go into the Vigus Dictionary of Hieroglyphs. Chenut. Remember that word that Dr. Witt used to call her the great version? Chenut. Translated as what? Maiden. See it? Chenut. There it is. Maiden. Chenut. Maiden. Chenut. Maiden. Go to Oxford Dictionary. What is a maiden? 1.1. A virgin. Let's look at number 1. An unmarried girl or young woman. Neither of those apply to Isis. She was not a young woman. She was a goddess, which means she was here at the dawn of time.
He's an idiot.
She can't be a young woman because she's at the beginning of the human race. The human race comes from the Aeneid. She's from the mythological age. We know she wasn't unmarried, and she was not a girl. She was a woman. These don't apply to Isis. Okay? Well, it could in one sense. After Osiris is killed, you could say she was unmarried, but we know this is not. They're not talking about this. Okay? Okay? A virgin. Older woman, unmarried, doesn't really apply. Right? Hold on a second. Right. So we know it doesn't, right? That doesn't apply. An unmarried girl does not apply. Right? An older woman, unmarried, does not apply to Isis. This is how we know they're talking about virgin. Of a female animal not having mated. This is why we know they're talking about Isis. Why? Of a female, look at this. I'm going to show you something. Of a female animal not having mated. So it's an animal that is a virgin. This is why Isis is shown as an animal. And it's meant to be a virgin sexual situation to show that there is no sex taking place. That's why she's depicted as an animal, because humans do not have sex with animals. Theologically for them, no, they did not. So they try to accuse ancient Egypt of being engaged in bestiality, and they take those quotes out of context, when theologically they don't know what they're talking about. In the dictionary, what is a maiden? A female animal not having mated. This applies to Isis. That's why she is in the form of a kite bird. She's hovering over him, not to get his seed. You got that from Plutarch in the 1st century because he did not understand the theology. That's why earlier, Reginald Witt, Dr. Witt, said that he had to weave his own theology out of the mythology. And because he didn't understand the mythology, he gave you an incorrect theology. She was not taking his seed. She was taking his ka. Not his cock, his ka, his vital life force. but it is a spiritual expression. It is a spiritual depiction. How do we know it's spiritual? And it is symbolic. How do we know that? Because if you look at this text, which is taken from Between Heaven and Earth, Birds in Ancient Egypt, page 41, right? This is part of a larger book called, it's in a section called An External Aviary, Bird Mummies from Ancient Egypt by Salima Ikram. She's a major Egyptologist. And this is out of the Oriental Institute Museum, Oxford, at the Oriental Institute, University of Chicago. That's who published this. And what they say in this text is that birds served as symbols of the gods themselves, as well as the divine essence within each individual, male or female. The ka, males and females have a ka. That's why we know that this is not sexual. In fact, it is the least sexual image you could ever show. This has zero to do with sex. It is a completely spiritual connection. That is why they chose to represent Isis as a kite, to show that it was symbolic. Birds served as symbols. What is a symbol? Go to the dictionary. A thing that represents or stands for what? Something else. Okay, that means you're being shown an animal, but you are to think of something else. You're being shown an animal that represents the throne. That's why the throne is shown right in front of it, the glyph. This represents Isis. This is a spiritual transmission from Osiris to Isis. It is not a sexual transmission. There is no seed being transferred. Plutarch put that in the text, and that's why Budge told you don't read Plutarch.
All right, let's stop.
Okay? The same way Faulkner.
Gladly.
So
I will gladly stop the video.
So Shaka finally has come to grips with the fact that we should not deal with Plutarch. It only took him 3 years, but he's here now, and that's good. That's good, right? So he's saying that according to this source, that it's not has anything to do with seed, right? And what source is he talking about? Well, right? And he quotes it, birds serve as symbols of the gods themselves, as well as the divine essence within each individual. This is taken from Between Heaven and Earth, Birds in Ancient Egypt, page 41, right? I so happen to have this chapter, right? And this is the page that he quotes from. Nephthys could transform themselves into kites, right? And the different aspects of the human soul and the Ba, much like the modern idea of spirit and the Ak, understood as part of the one soul that united with the gods and the eternal stars, were respectively shown as a human-headed bird or bald ibis. Thus, birds served as symbols of the gods themselves, as well as the divine essence within each individual. So he quotes it correctly, right? Now, remember, he says it has nothing to do with her receiving seed, right? And this is from page 41. Mm-hmm. But on page 59, Adam, can you read this for us?
I'm scared, bro. I'm scared.
You're right.
So he quoted from page 41. We're on page 59 of the same book. Okay. Yes, the ancient earth god Geb, whose center of worship was in the south, often took the form of a goose, hence his I can't even say that. Onomatopoeic nickname. Mm-hmm. All right. Despite his gender, Jeb was credited in antiquity with laying the egg from which hatched the sun, the celestial equivalent of the living pharaoh. A divine generation later, Geb's daughter Isis, what could be taken as a refinement of the bloodline after she magically became pregnant with her murdered brother/husband's sperm.
Dagger.
Same book. A few pages later.
Same book. Man.
No, but it gets. Wait, we're not done, Adam.
Oh, we're not.
Continue reading.
Hashtag keep reading.
Keep reading, sir.
Jeez. Okay. This page, still page 59, same book.
Oh,
she stated as an Isis. She stated in spell 148 of the Middle Kingdom coffin text, quote, I am Isis, Osiris' sister. His seed
His what?
is with
Oh.
his seed.
His
Is
what?
what?
It's Hebrew Israelite said, his seed is within my womb. It is as a son, it is as son of the foremost of the Ennead, who will rule this land, become heir to Geb, speak on his father's behalf, and slay Seth, that a god's form has congealed in the egg. Know in your hearts that he is your Lord, this God who is in his egg, blue in aspect, the Lord of the gods. So man, come on. I mean, she's literally describing. She's literally saying that his seed is in my womb, and it's congealed in the egg. We're talking about fertilization right there. It's literally what it's saying.
I counted.
You know
twice.
what? Maybe I don't want to read too much into it. I'm just saying it seems like she's talking about some sort of fertilization something.
Right.
Even if it's not as refined as what we might know today. Nevertheless, we see the seed is in the womb, fam.
And look, for a bonus. Let's do an alternative translation of the spell.
Oh no.
Right?
Oh no.
Oh gods, I am Isis, the sister of Osiris, who wept on account of the father of the gods, Osiris, who parted the slaughter of the two lands. His semen is inside my body.
Geno Jennings, wait a minute, read it again.
His semen is inside my body. I have admitted the form of a god in the egg as my son, foremost of the Ennead, who will rule this land, who will inherit from Geb, who will speak for his father, who will slay Seth, the enemy of his father Osiris. Come, O gods, may you provide his protection within my uterus. Know in your hearts that this God, who is in his egg, is your Lord, the blue-haired one, the form of the Lord of the gods, with the great and beautiful, adorned with two plumes of lapis lazuli. So,
hey, I just want to say too, to disappoint, because he said in his clip that the concept of seed being in her comes from Plutarch. Right. But notice this is from the coffin text, spell 148. So anybody can go fact check that.
Right.
This is not just drawn from Plutarch. This is coming from a primary source. Just want to throw that out.
He said it twice, at least twice, maybe more than twice. It's not talking about seed. That's what he said.
Oh, he said it a few times. He said it a few times.
Okay.
But the very source that he's using to back that up literally says, he says sperm. And the reason why we say sperm, because in this coffin text, which is from actual indigenous Kemetes for a change, in fact, this is the first time we're hearing something that's actually from Kemet.
Facts, yeah.
And what is Kemet saying? Right. What is the goddess herself saying? I got knocked up, fam.
Yeah.
Okay. Ain't no Maury Povich on this one. Like straight up, like, yo.
He is the pappy.
He's the father. Right.
I'm like, so this is the second. And look, it's the second time in his video. But since me and Adam have been dealing with Shaka, all we've done with Shaka is take his sources and read a few pages later.
That's it.
Like, keep reading, Shaka.
This is debunking stuff, right?
Hashtag keep
I
reading.
Propose, that's a good one. Hashtag keep reading. I propose a new rule. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna kind of date myself back in the day, but I used to love like the and one mixtape videos back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Y'all remember those? Like, so with and one, if you got crossed over, if you fell, you had to leave the game. You had to go to the bench. You know what I'm saying? Like the new rule is like if your source, if you're debunking yourself with your own sources, you gotta go, man. You gotta leave. You out the game, dog. You gotta come. You coming out. You coming out. It can't be simple stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? Where I mean, and this is not a situation where, you know, there need to be. This is not even like a critical thinking issue. It's just all you had to do is just keep reading your own source. That's all we're talking about, man.
Right.
If you daggering yourself like that, you out the game, dog. You coming out.
Keep reading. Here's another one. From the book. Right? Brother, husband Osiris. She could make him endure and live. Death itself, she never suffered. She was indeed herself concerned with the resurrection of the dead. One of the most sublime deifications of motherhood. And yet in the Osiris hymn called the Great Virgin. Woo, dagger. We're done here. Right. Forget Jesus. That's it. Right?
I feel like he spent like 20 minutes on this, like talking about how she was referred to as the Great Virgin. But go ahead, yeah.
Well, this is the actual hymn to Osiris. It's preserved in a calcite stela dedicated by Ahmose, who lived sometime during the first half of the 18th dynasty. All right, this is the actual hymn. Let's look at the translation, shall we? Adam, please read this.
Oh, here we go. I feel like you always have me reading the X-rated stuff, man. You always read the clean PG stuff. I get the X-rated material. What is that about, bro? Oh man. Okay, quote. Isis the effective, the protector of her brother, who looked for him without ceasing, who traveled this land in mourning. She would not rest before she found him. She made a shadow with her feathers, creating a breeze with her wings, offering praise when her brother moored. She is the one who lifted up the lethargy of the weary-hearted, who received his semen, which created the air.
She received what?
Who received his semen, which created the air. Who suckled the child in solitude. His location was unknown. Who revealed him in the court of Geb when he had grown strong. The Ennead rejoices. Welcome Osiris' son Horus, stout-hearted, true of voice, son of Isis, heir of Osiris. End quote.
Now,
come on.
I'm not a big biology person. I think Dean, you might be in the chat. She could probably help us out. But I'm thinking, right? Once a woman receives semen, I think she loses her V card. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a wrap at that point. Right?
Right? So what are you talking about?
Yeah, the V card is done, bro.
So, and again, that's a primary. That's a stela from Egypt. Actual Kemet.
So she may have been the great virgin, like past tense. But
was a great virgin.
Yeah, I mean, right, it was exactly right.
Then things done change.
Right. Come on,
right?
Man.
So, as a bonus, peace to Garfield. He was in the building, and he recently had a good friend of mine on his platform, Dr. David Folk, who's an actual Egyptologist. And Garfield asked him a very interesting question. And I think this is already queued up. So let's see how it goes. Oh, no, it's not queued up. Darn it. Let's see if I can find this real quick.
Very interesting relationship with the Egyptians. Problems. They're protected.
I was going to say,
you have the Theban dynasties, where they started the Opet festival. You're going to the library.
Let me see here.
Convert most men and women is competing with an back to Egypt.
I had to ask. Let's get it out, please.
They're pulling the sledges in teams of 100.
Where is it? Darn, I had it.
Or a amulet outside, and then, but a guy from the old kingdom would not understand. And it's liturgy in its temple its church liturgies, even though confluence. And this is where we get like the Israelite or Judean king, which is why they always fear.
Wow. All right. Anyway, so we look at
it'll take forever.
Look at the
I do have. Okay, what's going on?
What do you think, bro?
Okay, now it doesn't want to. Okay, let me stop sharing. Hold up. Okay,
I'm here for all of it, bro. Be good.
So I can't. I don't know which timestamp, but I do have. I did text him and asked him, "What am I doing here?" Okay, here we go.
I thought you were going to say you had the entire interview in slide form.
Nah.
You have everything in slides.
And this is what Amir was, I think, also referring to in the chat. So, well, Hanut doesn't mean virgin. It means young lady or maiden. Just like, I don't know how to say that, means young man. So, Egyptologists, The man who actually can read the glyphs,
right,
says no, it's not virgin.
That's not what it is, bro.
It's not what it is. So
now I'm kind of torn. Like, should we just take Shaka Atmos interpretation, or should we lean with the actual Egyptologists?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the guy, the PhD.
Okay, right. Okay. I just wanted.
Call me crazy, but I'm gonna go with the guy, the PhD.
I think that's appropriate in this. I could dig it.
So, and of course, we're not gonna go after each point alleged point he makes within this 4-hour diatribe of his.
Right.
But these were some points of contention we had, and actually, it's points of contention he has because it was his sources, right?
Right.
So here's my thing. With all that being said, I don't think Shaka is dumb. He thinks we're dumb.
Right.
He constantly reminds us that he thinks we're dumb. We're bums too, by the way.
Bums.
We're the bodega bums.
The bodega bums.
I'm a goon. According to him, Dr. Mason sends me to him to attack him. I'm one of Eric Mason's goons.
You know what's funny about that? Because that's not the only time I've heard that from Shaka. I was like, do they honestly believe that Mason is like, sitting back in his lair, in Philly, with like some sort of like crystal ball, looking at everything that's going on in the comics community, like, Alfredo, get Shaka, like he's some sort of like criminal mastermind,
that's not happening.
Like he's like Skeletor, like like is that really what they think is going on, man? Like that man's living his life, man. He's not sitting around listening to Shaka Atmos all day, man. Get out of here, bro. It's hilarious to me, man.
Actually, our good brother Phil Fox, I think, helped me with the timestamp. So,
cool. Shout out to Phil Fox.
Let's try. Okay, here we go.
Phil Feezy.
Wait, what am I doing here? Hold on.
Well, you're sharing two things at once.
All right. Actually, I'm gonna have to drop yours. Actually, no, I don't think so.
Phil Feezy in the building.
You know what? What's going on here? Let me stop. All right, let me do this instead.
It'll share from YouTube.
Yeah. Well, talk among yourselves.
No, that's cool. I mean, I had a couple things I was gonna say anyway. But to your point, again, it's not like we're not goons, on the chase, if you will. You know what I'm saying, trying to hunt down Shaka Atmos and his friends or something like that. It's just it's really far more simple than that. Like, we believe the gospel, you know what I'm saying, and we care about our community. It's really that simple. I don't want to see people eternally separated from God because they imbibe falsehoods from Shaka Atmos or anybody else. And I also don't want to see bad thinking in my community that undermines our efforts to thrive as a community. Like, on both counts, we have to oppose this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying, so this is not like some sort of conspiracy. I see you got it up, so I'll stop there.
It's,
I think it's at 4606.
All right, let's try this.
Then you had Islam coming in 6 centuries later and basically saying, okay, now you have to worship Allah. You have to speak Arabic, and it became sort of a nationalistic thing, where you had this divide between. You don't want to go there. There's wild animals, danger.
Somebody has a personal question. Have you ever played Assassin's Creed Origins? If so,
yes, I have.
What's up?
Yeah, sorry, Shady Mills is saying it's the 1 hour 25-minute mark.
Yeah, that's what I'm going. That's what I'm headed for.
Oh, dang, my fault. Sorry.
What are your thoughts?
I thought it was too much like work.
All right.
Well, here's the thing, when you become an Egyptologist, you're reading inscriptions all the time. You're digging in the dirt. You're going to the library. I used to be a big fan of Tomb Raider. Loved Tomb Raider. And then I started playing it again after becoming an Egyptologist and goes, gee, this is feeling a whole lot like work. I'm having a hard time relaxing here.
Was there a major population shift after the invasions? Like, if you had, like, you know what I want to ask you. Let me reword this question here.
Sure.
So you have the Hyksos. The Hyksos are put out.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Egyptians. Then you have.
But it grows dramatically after that to a very.
I don't know if you want to even address that.
Sure, I'll address that. I'll take that on.
All right, go ahead.
No.
Okay, that's the part.
Those fields for food.
Here we go.
Yes, they'll grow some flax for garments and that sort of thing, but food is the priority. The Islamic leaders basically convert most of the fields. They destroy all the papyrus paddies, plant new fields for cotton, and then they export all that cotton to the Middle East for trade. It was a terrible tragedy.
Let me ask you this. Someone had asked earlier if ISIS was a virgin. I don't know if you want to even address that.
Sure, I'll address that. I'll take that on.
All right, go ahead.
No. Here's the thing. ISIS is called a Hemnet. That's a maiden. It's not a virgin. It's a young woman. Okay, it's a young woman. That's not a virgin. When the Egyptians didn't have a word specifically for a young woman who had not yet had sex. They typically refer to young women that were, say, not yet married as children. Because the age that they would be married off would be so young that they'd be still, that there's no really teenage years there. It's basically young women went from basically childhood into their early teens, and then they were married off. So there's no such thing as a spinster in Egypt. No such thing as a spinster in Egypt.
I hear that. Did the Egyptians call?
So there you have it from an actual Egyptologist.
Boom.
Not only did he tell you the linguistic, he gave you the cultural background of the word too. That's what scholars do. So yeah, so that was the bonus. So Ashley Adams, that's something you want to share there? Or are you just going through your slides?
Oh, did I share by accident? I didn't mean to, but I mean, yeah, actually there was something I wanted to say, yeah.
All right, do you want to put up the slide or no?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. I just want to kind of like wrap everything up, kind of bring it full circle, right? So, what did Mason actually say? He said, quote, "So they'll say Horus was born of a virgin, no documentation of that." That's what he said. This is what your boy Shaka took umbrage with, right? Now Shaka, threw out a whole bunch of stuff about the bird and the great virgin this and so on and so forth. But the question is, has Shaka Atmos brought anything to the forefront that would invalidate or make false Mason's statement when thoroughly investigated? No. We've investigated Shaka Atmos' claims, right? We investigated what he brought up to the table, and what we've come to find is that his own sources debunk them, and the primary sources debunk them, right? So that's what we found out so far. So it seems to me that Mason's looking pretty good. And I just want to kind of throw a few things out here real quick, if I could, just to kind of bring it on home. Again, now I actually have Booker T. Coleman here by accident, so I was copying and pasting from another presentation. So Booker T is getting like a side shot here. He's getting side swiped, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, key issue here is that again, this is not about what Isis or Mary were called, right? So this is the fact that he brings out, Isis was referred to as the Great Virgin. That's not what this is about. This is not about what Isis or Mary was prior to the encounter that led to them being pregnant. That's not what this is about, because it could very well be, and now granted it's all fictional anyway, but it could very well be that maybe Isis is to be understood as a virgin prior to her encounter with Horus. The issue is, what is the nature of the encounter by which they became pregnant, sexual or not? That's the issue. And what we found from the coffin text that Alfredo brought up, spell 148, what we found from, just again, the direct primary sources some of which were, alluded to by Shaka's own book that he's reading from. We found that indeed the encounter between Osiris and Isis was indeed intended to be sexual. It was intended to be understood as a sexual encounter. I'm saying that, someone, Isis received the semen. I don't know how you can get any more sexual than that. I mean, I got to be more explicit, right? So we know that on Isis' side is sexual. Now, I just want to say a quick note with respect to Mary. Now, what you see in the New Testament is that it talks about how the Holy Spirit came upon her. I'm saying, and she was with child, right? And just to be clear, that's that phrase "came upon." That wasn't something sexual, and we can see that borne out in other passages. I'm just going to use a few examples, but there's several throughout the Old and also some in the New Testament. But for example, let me go to my next slide here. Judges chapter 14, verse 6. Excuse me. We see it says in reference to Samson, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him, so that he tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as he might have torn a young goat. But he told neither his father nor his mother what he had done. So we see that phrase, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson. So likewise, in 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 13, we're talking about David. It says, so Samuel took the horn of the oil and anointed him in the presence, talking about David, and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. And Samuel went to Ramah. Okay, so we see that in regard to both Samson, in regard to David, we have the Spirit of the Lord coming upon them. And then so likewise, when it comes to Luke chapter 1, verse 35, the angel answered, the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High shall overshadow you. So the Holy One to be born will be called the Son of God. And that's what you have there. And that's obviously the angel talking to Mary. Now, the reason why I want to bring that up is that obviously in the first two examples, we have the Holy Spirit coming upon men. Right. And there's nothing about impregnating. There's nothing about, anything sexual or whatever. What we're talking about is the Holy Spirit, in a sense, becoming active in a person or in the person's life such that it empowers them to fulfill a particular task. I'm saying, so when it talks about the Holy Spirit came upon this person or came upon that person, what it's referring to is the Spirit empowering somebody to accomplish something. And so likewise, when it comes to Mary, she was empowered to be with a child. Like, this isn't like some sort of sexual verbiage here. You know what I'm saying? The verbiage used, the Holy Spirit came upon, that verbiage is in reference to the power of the Holy Ghost being active in somebody to accomplish a specific task. So there's no reason to think, based upon how it's described with Mary, that was a sexual union. Because again, we see it, that same phrase used in non-sexual ways. I'm saying even in regard to men, obviously having nothing to do with pregnancy. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear there. And then also, just lastly, I think it was lastly, yeah. So when it talks about, the issue with the whole thing, I guess Isis being referred to as the Great Virgin. Obviously, Shaka made a big deal about that in his original video. Now, here's the thing, you can't have it both ways. I'm saying you either have to affirm statement A or statement B. Either Isis was a virgin, and we're talking about after her conception with Osiris and having Horus, or B, Isis conceived Horus via sexual encounter with Osiris. Like, you can't have it both. You can't affirm both A and B. They both can't be true, right? If you're going to be a virgin, then you can't be having sex. And if you have some sex, then you're no longer a virgin, right? So that's obvious. Now, the thing is, they can't both be true. So either one of them is false, or you're going to have to somehow affirm this. And this is what Shaka would have to do in order to make the claim that he's going with. He would have to affirm some sort of perpetual virginity of Isis, along with the proposition that Isis had sexual encounter with Osiris, based upon what the evidence is. But now you have a logical contradiction, and a logical contradiction can, by definition, can't be true. So so one of these things has to be false, or they're both false in relation to one another. In either case, we would still have to, in either case, we would still go back to makes a statement that if either one of those is false, or taken together, they constitute a logical contradiction. That doesn't do anything to undermine Mason's statement that these folks claim that Horus was born of a virgin birth, but nevertheless, there's no documentation of that, because you would have no true statement or documentation that Isis was indeed a virgin and somehow gave birth through sexual encounter. So I just want to kind of throw that out there real quick.
Yeah, that was great. Right, because he thinks that what Mason said was nobody has ever put pen to paper and said that Isis was a virgin.
Right.
A whole bunch of people that did.
Sure.
And they're wrong.
Right.
You know, that's not what, you know, that's not the point. But
it's not about whether or not she was referred to as a virgin. The question is, was Horus born of a virgin? That's what Mason said. Right. And the answer is obviously no.
Now,
according to his sources.
Before I give it to you, MJ, this is what I want to say. So, like I was saying earlier before I showed Dr. Folk's video. So I don't think Shaka is dumb. I really don't. I think he's hurt. All right. And now this is conjecture on my part, but I feel like somebody who purported to be a believer or some sort of organization that purported to be believers did something to this man. And it really put him in a bad place, because look at what he constantly has been doing in these videos for years. He'll cite a source that cuts him from a few pages, sometimes a few lines afterwards. And I feel like his hatred for Christianity and for those who are Christians is so intense, he is possessed by his own confirmation bias. You know, that's what I believe. I think he is hurt. Somebody hurt him. And I want to provide something for him that these people didn't, an apology. Shaka, I'm sorry for whatever these people did to you. You know, the church dropped the ball here. I know you went to church, you grew up in church. Something happened there, I believe. I could be wrong. But something happened here, because look at how you are behaving. Because you can read. You're a well-read person. You have tons of books. But your hatred is giving you these blinders and filters so that you can't see this. How is it that you could quote something on 41, but you didn't see what happens on page 59? That's hard for me to believe that you didn't see page 59. What's causing you not to see page 59? There's something there. And honestly, I think the next video you do, banging on Christianity, because we all know you will, I think the next video should be what these Christians or these alleged Christians did to you. I want to know the story. Like, what did these people, they did you dirty? Because look at how you're behaving. Look at the response. I would like to know that story. I really would. So that's my 2 cents. MJ, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep the same serious attitude and posture that you're taking, and not comment on intellect or anything like that. Nevertheless, this is nothing new by Mr. Ahmose. I've seen y'all do several videos using his own sources against him. And I mean, this is just the case when, like you said, just read and hashtag, keep reading, that's going to be the new hashtag, keep reading. And this, it kind of points to what you said, maybe a deeper issue, perhaps. But Shaka said something at the beginning of his presentation that we played. He said, if you have a problem with the documentation, you need to email Oxford Press, or you need to email John Hopkins Press, or whoever, take it up with them. He said it in a very laughing manner. But I'm going to say this in a serious manner. This is a serious issue, because now, I mean, the bad information is getting peddled to black people. And in the words of Adam Coleman, you can't build a community on a foundation of weak ideas. I'm going to put a footnote next to your name when I cite that, Adam. I hope I cited it right. We can say I'm paraphrasing.
It was close. Yeah, it was good.
Okay, I'm paraphrasing.
I'm messing with you.
But the bottom line is, I mean, these are bad ideas. Let it go, fam. Please let it go. There is no connection between Isis and Mary. Next thing you know, a video might be done about the name Mary, and we didn't already dealt with that. I mean, that's a bad argument. This book right here talks about the grave sites in the name, and the most common name in Palestine was what? Mary, or Miriam, excuse me. And so if you're gonna keep doing this, at least raise the level of your argumentation to edify your audience, and not just throw red meat at them. But the funny thing for me is, Adam talked a lot about logic and reasoning and things like that, and we can kind of tell that this has been an irrational process of reasoning, just all over the presentation. We can tell, but for me, I think about it like this: if the Kemetic sources, like even in the creation story, you have their creator God using semen, masturbating using semen and things like that. Why all of a sudden, and that's a theme, that's what they, that's what the people as a culture understood had to happen in order for creation to take place. Why all of a sudden, when we get to Horus, the idea of a semingless or a spermless creation enters into the picture? I think it only enters into the picture because we're talking about Christianity and we're looking to try to pin the tail on the donkey.
That's a great point. That's
Great.
A great point.
Yep.
And it sticks out like a sore thumb because, one, it just doesn't fit within the worldview of that culture. And so I think that this is just one of them things where I'm throwing any and everything on the wall, hoping that something will stick. But I would just hope that this brother would take it a little bit more seriously and respect Black people enough not to present them with information like this.
Right. And that's the thing, I believe also, not only do I believe that he is smart, I believe he does love African and Africa. I really do. But the sources and things that you are using are not African centered. They're just not. Plutarch is not African centered. The golden donkey is not African centered. The cult of Isis during the Ptolemy period is not African centered. The Egyptian mysteries are not African centered. Rafa Amen, the one that created you, to your words, is a Rosicrucian. He's not African centered. Your master teachers, Dr. Clark, is not African centered. They're not using anything from actual ancient Africa. And so they've given you a false bill of goods, Shaka. None of this is African. But you know what is African and what your African ancestors did embrace freely? The gospel. When the people of ancient Kemet heard the glad tidings, they accepted it willingly. And they became true followers of Yeshua. So are your ancestors wrong? Your Kemetic brothers and sisters, are they wrong? Because they're Africans and they accepted it. So,
Now, I just want to chime in on that too, man. And again, honestly, I kind of want to say something to Shaka's viewers, to be honest with you. Aside from him, because the reality is, like, and I'm gonna use this example. Like, grant spoiler alert for anybody who maybe didn't watch it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know how you haven't yet. But anyway, when you had that show, the Marvel show, what was it with Vision? Oh, WandaVision.
Shit, the Marvel show.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, because the Marvel. So
right,
WandaVision, right? And you come to find out that in WandaVision, this whole town is being controlled by Wanda. I'm saying, the witch, right? She's mentally controlling everybody. And ultimately, you get to the end of the series, and you come to find out that the reason, like, what's fueling her creating this utopia is pain, is the grief of having lost vision in real life, right? And so now she isn't able to, or she doesn't process that pain in a healthy way, and so she ends up enslaving a whole town mentally, all because of her pain. Likewise, when it comes to whether it be Shaka, Atmos, or I can name other names. I'm just not going to do it, but we're just talking about Shaka right now. When it comes to whether it be pain whether it be some sort of negative experience with the church, or I'm just going to really get to the heart of it when it comes down to just sin in your life. I'm saying when it comes to unrepentant sin, when it comes to the wrongdoings and wrong dispositions of the heart that you have not laid before the cross and turned away from, in having done so by the grace of Jesus Christ, when you have unrepentant sin and self-indulgence, like all about you, and you feel like you need to worship yourself because you're trying to fill a hole in your soul with the adoration of other people that you speak to through the camera. When you're doing that, and all of what you're doing, you're literally enslaving your viewers to ultimately buy your pain, right? And I would just encourage the viewers, don't be enslaved and chained into sin and into deception because of somebody else's pain. The reality is there is a real savior. And I know you don't want to hear me preach to you, but hopefully if you're watching, I hope you're listening. You don't want to stand before a holy and righteous God at judgment and be like, Dad, I'm here standing in judgment because I allow myself to be ensnared by the pain and deception of somebody else. And I got dragged along with it. That's not a wise thing to do. Repent and believe the gospel. Turn away from deception. Turn towards the light of truth. And I would encourage both his viewers, Shaka's viewers, and Shaka himself to do the same. It's not worth it. It's not worth your soul, man. What does it profit a man to gain 1 billion views on YouTube and a bunch of likes and lose his soul?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
amen. Yeah, man. None of us here hate you, Shaka.
Nah.
Even though you come at us as if we did you dirty, it's like, fam, I didn't take your chocolate milk when we was in grade school. That was the other chubby Puerto Rican. I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
Who's the other chubby Puerto Rican?
It was the other chubby Puerto Rican. It wasn't me, fam. You know what I mean? And I don't know, you might go on another tirade and call me, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Oh, by the way, Shaka, I'm plant-based, bro. I haven't ate meat or dairy in 3 years. Now, you can keep the fat jokes because that's accurate. I am fat. But I don't eat chicken, bro. I just don't. But look at what you're doing, Shaka. Listen, it's sloppy. You're being sloppy. And it's not because you can't do better. It's because the pain is blocking you. The pain is blocking you, and you're just lashing out and you're throwing haymakers, hoping to connect at something. But all you're doing is swinging in the air. And we want you to stop. I would love to sit down with you and talk. I said this before, and you got upset about us having a cup of coffee. But listen, the offer still stands, Shaka. We're both in New York. The mandates are gone. We could sit down, Starbucks, and tell me what they did, man.
That'd
so
be
we
dope.
can, so we can learn.
That'd be
because
dope.
Whatever's happening to you, I'm sure it's happening to a bunch of other people. And as believers, we need course correction too. Help us so that someone else doesn't get hurt and they lash out as well. We don't want that. Because we need to be, we need to hear it so that we can change.
That'd be fire if y'all could sit down and chat, man.
I would love to. I would love to. I don't think he wants that, And listen, and no one has to know about the conversation. We keep it between me and you. Straight up and down. Because it's pain. It's pain. And it pains us to see you in pain. Because look at this. This is bad, Shaka.
It's a bad look, man.
It's a bad look, Shaka. So
it's a bad look, bro.
The offer stands, bro. The offer stands. All right. So with that being said, if my panelists can tell us about what they're about to do in the immediate future and final thoughts before we turn this down. So we're going to start with MJ Jackson.
Well, when I'm not choosing violence and talking about issues, regarding the conscious community and Kemet and things like that, I'm often talking about social justice issues and how it relates to the gospel and things like that with my partner in crime, apologist in Detroit. So we will be coming up maybe next week. We will be reviewing a debate or a discussion that took place between Rasul Berry I want to say Butler sometimes, but that's a basketball player, so I'm gonna try not to. But Rasul Berry and Samuel Say, and we're going to be kind of interacting a little bit and giving a reaction to that conversation that took place. So that'll be coming up next week, and we're looking forward to that.
Amen. And Adam Coleman, what can we be expecting from you, sir?
Oh, hey, man, yeah, for sure. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that just today, it's officially out, man. Our new book, my man MJ Jackson, myself, collab with D New, and spearheaded by Vocab Malone, and we got Street Level Apologetics. All right, Street Level Apologetics, Passion for the City, Clarity for the People. Just dropped today. And all platforms where books are sold. I would definitely encourage people to get that. So that's pop. There you go. So that's popping. Really excited about it. And so actually along those lines, I think this Sunday, we're going to have a Q&A on Vocab's channel, I believe. Regarding the book, and just people can ask whatever questions they want to. So that's coming down the pike. Also, let me see. Man, I probably should have mentioned this before now, but I'm actually going to be a regular guest on or panel member on a new podcast called the King Talks podcast. Actually, for anybody who's been following me for a while, they remember actually I hosted it back in the day. You know what I'm saying, when they had it before, but we're relaunching the King Talks podcast. The dope thing about it, man, is actually Sirius. I always get it wrong. I think it's Sirius XM. You have Holy Culture Radio is going to have their own radio channel on Sirius XM. So it's going to be a whole Christian hip hop radio channel, Holy Culture Radio. I want to say it's 165. I could be wrong about that, but definitely it's. I think it launched yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
The channel did. So that's Holy Culture Radio on Sirius XM, and on that channel every Sunday at 6:00, me and a couple brothers, my guy True Pettigrew, and my guy, Reverend Aaron, I'm saying we're going to be just breaking down various different topics, things going on in the community. It's going to be where I kind of get into more social issues. Usually on my channel, I deal with like apologetic stuff, but on this show, it'd be like more social issues, what's going on in the Black community, that kind of thing. So that's the King Talks podcast, man. It's going to be every Sunday at 6 p.m. from 6 to 7. And so I definitely would encourage y'all to check that out. Aside from that, man, I've been rebuked, encouraged, and whatever else to finally get this book knocked out. So I'm, the next 4 months, I'm going to put my head down and really try to bang out my book, my first work as a solo author. So I hope to have that completed within the next couple months, man. So working, man.
That's what's up. Cool, man. So I hope everybody enjoyed, edified, and you know what? Say a prayer for our friend Shaka.
Yes. Yes.
We refute, we defend, but we also love, and we want to befriend as well. I don't know what he's going to do with this. I mean, I hope he understands that this is not done maliciously, but we are apologists. We defend and give an answer for our belief. And this is what we do. So
we're ready for the smoke, but we hope he repents.
Yes. Yeah. That's perfect. That's exactly what it is. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Adam Coleman, MJ Jackson, and BK Apologist signing off. Peace.
Oh.